Last time out in Jakarta, Mitch Evans' Formula E title hopes took a blow after he was taken out by his own teammate.
But his own teammate!
Not again!
Oh, guys, I'm so sorry.
And championship leader Nick Cassidy slid from the top of the standings.
Oh, and now we've got problems for Nick Cassidy, the championship leader.
But the Kiwis' loss was Porsche's gain, as Pascal Wehrlein retook the lead in the race for the driver's title.
Yeah! Let's go!
With just 5 rounds remaining, the championship is finally poised as Formula E returns to the United States.
Our playground is Portland, Oregon, but who will crack America in the hunt for the ultimate prize in electric racing?
Surrounded by the incredible landscape of the Columbia River Gorge and Mount Hood, a unique track awaits as we go racing West Coast style.
Get ready for the Southwire Portland E-Prix.
Good morning, folks. It's a lovely day here in Portland.
Hello and welcome to Portland, Oregon, as the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship travels to the west coast of America for the Southwire Portland E-Prix. And wow, this is an incredible track here, usually home to IndyCar, but for the first time ever, for the inaugural Portland race in Formula E, it will be hosting the all-electric Gen 3 car, and 22 drivers are very eager to get to grips with this brand new fast-paced circuit, which isn't a traditional street circuit, that's for sure. So plenty of challenges. And the guys who are going to get us to grips with the new twists and turns of this track, we have the 2015 Formula E champion Nelson Piquet Jr. and former Andretti driver Oliver Askew. Guys, welcome. The atmosphere here is absolutely buzzing. We're loving being in Portland. Oliver, you've raced here before. What can we expect from this track?
Like you said, absolutely love being here in Portland. The energy around the paddock and the racetrack is fantastic. And this track has a great mix of slow speed and high speed corners, a very high commitment chicane at the end of the back straightaway, turns 10 and 11. I think we can expect a lot of action on that area of the track. And yeah, just enjoying the weather, and I think we're going to see a fantastic race today. Absolutely.
We've already had some records broken. The Jaguar drivers smashing the top speed in Formula E record of 171 miles per hour. But let's talk about the championship, because we're getting towards the business end of the season. Only 5 races left, 8 points in it between the top 3 drivers. And Jake Dennis, who he started off the morning in P2 in the championship, but managed to get 3 points for his pole position in qualifying. What a way to start the day for his home race.
Amazing day. I mean, so competitive, and he managed to put the car in pole, got that extra points, made a huge difference for him. And the best part for him, all his championship contenders are so all the way back in the grid. So in a way, we know that this race is gonna make it's gonna be amazing for overtaking. You know, it's not. I'm sure we're gonna see those cars coming through the grid pretty quickly. But still, it is much better to be starting over here in the front than all the way back there. You know, the risks are going to be much smaller being over here first, second, third during the race and having to climb all the way from P20 to P20.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is obviously a track where Andretti have done so well in the past in Indy. They've got 5 wins between Michael and Mario Andretti, and that's just that tradition has continued with Jake Dennis's first pole position of the season as well. What a place to do it. But let's talk about, this is a track, it's energy intense. It's literally going to drink energy from the battery. How's that going to play into the strategy, Oliver? Yeah, well, the majority of the racetrack is flat out, and whenever you're touching the throttle, you're draining energy out of that battery. So one of the tools these drivers use to get to the end of the race is coasting. And when you're coasting behind another driver in the slipstream, you're able to coast earlier than a driver that would be in clean air with more drag on the car. So I think the drivers at front, they need to try and focus on getting in that slipstream to then save energy for the end of the race when it really matters. Absolutely. Well, you can already hear there is an incredible festival atmosphere. And as soon as Radzi sniffed out a bit of fun, he went off to find out more.
You can forget about Glastonbury, you can forget about Coachella, because the real festival vibes are happening right here in Portland, Oregon. Just a stone's throw from the track, by the way. The RVs are in town, the Barbies are getting fired up. So let's go and meet some of these legends. Hey, what's happening?
Kind of new to watching Formula E. Watched you on a couple of the broadcasts. We did that, and we've been live up in Seattle, come down to Portland every year for a couple of races.
Who's this?
His name's Ollie. He's very interested.
So Ollie is our biggest FE fan.
Yeah.
Watching every
Oh
single car.
my goodness. Yeah.
It's very exciting. It's very new and different. The tire noise is very extreme with the hard tires that they're using.
Oh, wow.
We actually have the last, I think we have the Berlin race going on from Formula E, so we're getting stoked, we're getting ready.
You guys have a wonderful day.
Ahead of a make-or-break weekend for the championship leader, Saunders caught up with Pascal Wehrlein trackside.
Pascal, welcome to the USA, Portland, Oregon. Are you enjoying being here in the US? Do you like coming to the US?
Yeah, definitely. It's not as hot as in Jakarta, but still good weather. New track, so yeah, excited.
Pascal Wehrlein takes victory in Jakarta.
Yeah! Let's go!
You're back at the top of the standings. Does that change your approach to a race now, knowing that you're now the one with the target rather than chasing back the lead?
No, I mean, every weekend we try to extract the maximum out of our package, collect as many points as we can. We're approaching the end of the season. You know how close Formula E is, and things are changing quite a lot. So yeah, still 5 races to go and many points to collect.
Okay, let's talk about that hunt for the title and where things are in the standings. Jake Dennis is just a single point behind you. This feels like a rivalry that's been growing since the start of the season. You know, if all the way back in Mexico, their consistency is sort of podium, 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 podium. You've kind of returned to form. Do you feel, though, now you can follow in consistency now from here to the end of the season?
I think so. I think we have the package, I think we have the pace. We just need to optimize our weekends and show our full potential. I think that's what we've missed in the last couple of races, that there's always been something disturbing our performance, and then we were in a situation where it was missing just a tenth or two, but in Formula E that's crucial.
What the was that? A bit off with that swerving under braking, man.
It got a little bit heated in Jakarta in that first race. You know, has the relationship changed between customer and manufacturer team? Is it a lot more fiery and competitive now?
Not from my side, nothing has changed. I see everyone as the same competitor,
Okay.
and I think there are still a couple of drivers in the fight for the championship. Comments have been made, obviously, in Jakarta, but that's not my business. I just try to do my best, and that's it.
There's quite a few people saying that qualifying might be important here because of the energy difficulties in the race. That's an area where you've struggled a little bit this season.
Actually, I think qualifying is not that important here because it will be so easy to overtake. There will be a lot of energy saving in the race, and it will be easy to make progress. So you need to be very efficient in the race.
Do you think you can leave here in the same position at the top of the standings?
I think we can. I think we can win the race. I feel prepared, we feel prepared, and we try our best to extend the lead in the championships, both championships, and then heading into the last 2 weekends, Rome and London with a lead.
Well, this is one way to make an entrance to the racetrack here in Portland, Oregon. The Dauntless Pro skydiving team delivering a very special package, the trophy to the drivers at the front of the grid. But now it's time for the national anthem of the United States of America.
So proudly we hailed at the twilight's last streaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Wow, an incredibly special moment there. Accompanied by the two F-15C Eagles. What a flyby, really marking this moment at the inaugural Formula E race here in Portland. And I'm absolutely delighted to say that joining me for this special moment and for the race, we have with us rapper, singer, actor Jaden Smith, ladies and gentlemen. You're back.
I'm back.
Some more Formula E action. Great to see you.
I'm back. Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here. It's already been amazing.
Well, this is what we like to hear. Now, not only are you a rapper, singer, actor, you are now also a designer. Talk to us, because you've been involved in designing a new livery for the Gen 3 car.
I have, yeah. I'm so honored to be able to design the outside of the car. It was amazing, and I actually modeled it kind of off of my race jacket that I made not too long ago for my last collection.
Oh, talk us through this as well.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to make a vegan leather race jacket, you know what I mean? Because, you know, sustainability is so important to me, but people think, oh, if I'm sustainable, I can't have a cool car, I can't have cool clothes or whatever. And I feel like Formula E and what I'm doing with Misfits and everything, it's all about showing that you can be sustainable and you can still be cool and fashionable and amazing. And I feel like that's what today is all about, you know?
I got the memo about wearing black and sustainability, but unfortunately, I don't look as cool
No,
as
you
that.
do. You look so much better. You're locked in.
I'll work on that. Well, hopefully we'll get to see some images of that car. Talk us through some of the inspiration that you used.
You know, I really wanted to bring kind of like a punk hip-hop aesthetic to the racetrack, you know what I'm saying? And yeah,
here we go.
We have it right here. You know, I really wanted to bring like a punk hip-hop aesthetic to it. And, you know, I wanted to be mostly all black. I just wanted to have those pops of white, kind of like this jacket, kind of like a lot of shoes that I like. So we wanted to model it like that, and, you know, with the pyramids on it, and there's a lot of math on it, and I love it. I love the car. It took us some time to design it, but it's really, really dope. It's really dope, and I'm just honored that I got the opportunity to work with Formula E and E-Prix to actually make this.
I absolutely love how your jacket is mirrored in the design of the car. Fantastic.
Oh, yeah, fully.
But now, although I am wearing boots that are made for walking in, I'm also carrying a bit of extra weight, so I've got a bit of a challenge for you.
Congratulations.
Tell me. If you're up for a challenge.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
So do you fancy finding a driver? Perhaps I'm telling you Felix da Costa, I'll give you a nice one. He's a friendly one.
Okay, I would love that. I would love that.
A quick driver interview.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Have you ever done anything like this before?
You know, no, I haven't, and I'm excited to do it. You know, it's the first time for everything.
Excellent. All right. Well, the challenge has been set. I'm going to send you on your way. We'll send you off with a camera.
You're the best.
Good luck. Have fun.
Thank
Enjoy
you.
it.
I'll see you in a few. Amazing.
Jaden Smith, our new Formula E pit lane reporter. Let's find out how he gets on in a moment. Now, I'm going to see if we can have a little wander over to, hey, there he is, looking very cool. Huge smile on his face. It is our pole sitter, first pole position of the season, Jake Dennis, championship leader. Could this day get any better for you?
Not so far. You know, I've had a really good day. Obviously, pole position, home race for the team, and yeah, a nice view down into turns one. And yeah, just looking forward to the race. I think it's going to be extremely challenging, even more overtakes than Berlin, which was a record already. And yeah, I think you guys will really enjoy this race.
Now, we've talked about, to be honest, how much action we're going to see in the course of this race. No one's quite sure what's going to go on, but it must be slightly reassuring to know that your main contenders for this championship, Pascal Wehrlein, Nick Cassidy, are right down the back, kind of midfield and towards the back.
Yeah, I mean, obviously helps, but if there's one race where you wouldn't mind starting like middle or last, it is here. You can quite easily move forward very quickly. So I expect to see Nick maybe lap 3 or 4 very, very early on, and then obviously Pascal maybe like lap 10. So it's just nice to be out of the trouble on the first lap, and then we'll settle in and try and get a bit of a toe off the guys. Got the 2 Nissans and some McLarens right behind me, so they're going to be working together. And I've got Andre P8, and obviously it's going to be important to have my wingman there basically the rest of the year, but especially today.
Yeah, absolutely. It's big in the Teams Championship as well. How do you think this race is going to play out? If you could kind of summarize what you think is going to happen, even though I know what you're going to say is probably going to be completely wrong because we can't really predict it, but I'd just love to get your take on it.
I think we'll see a lot of like pack racing, you know, as we saw in Berlin, like a lot of cars together for the first like 20, 23 laps, and then I think the last 5 laps is where it's going to be elbows out. People with more energy will really start to move forward. The start line here is really, really late after the last corner, and starting the final sort of run up to the checkered flag. If guys have more energy, they can easily pass 3 or 4 cars. So it's really not over until it's over. And yeah, we're looking forward to the race, to be honest.
Excellent. Well, we will let you get on your way because I know it's only a few moments to go. Thank you very much, Jake Dennis. Now, I believe Jaden Smith is doing rather well in this challenge, and he is with Antonio Felix da Costa.
Antonio da Costa, how are you, bro? Thank you so much for doing this interview.
How are you, man? It's good to have you here. Thanks for coming by.
Bro, I'm so excited to be here, of course, and I was actually on the track earlier, and I rode on it. It's kind of crazy, and it gets really, really fast. What's your strategy for today?
Man, it's super quick. So we're beating all the top speed records this weekend in Formula E. We're doing 280 now down the straight, so you can see only 9 years the evolution of the electric mobility and all that, so it's cool to be a part of it. We're starting 7th. It's going to be a super strategic race. A lot of slipstream effect in this track. I think we've got a good plan, but I'll tell you in an hour if it worked out or not.
I'm excited. I'm excited to watch, bro. It's going to be absolutely amazing. It's going to be so dope.
And we need to get you in one of these. You need to drive one.
I would love to. I would love to be in one of these, man. I would love to be in one of these. What did you do to prepare for this race today? Did you get to be on the track and stay on the track and practice, or how did you prepare?
Yeah, so we had the usual free practice sessions, but the real thing is before we actually come here and race, we use the simulator back in Germany at home. You know, to get to know the track, because this is a new track for us. I had no idea where it was going. So to learn the track, prepare all these strategies and all that. And then once we're here, it's just like physical care, like jet lag stuff and making sure we're focused, hydrated, and ready to go now for the big fight.
Amazing. Well, I'm going to let you get to it, bro. I'm super excited to see you out there. Thank you so much for this. The best, bro. Thank you, bro. You have a good one, bro.
Good to see you.
Thank you. Great job, man. No worries for me. I'm not racing.
Well, I'm joined by an absolute Winter Olympic legend, World Cup champion, Olympic champion, world champion, Lindsey Vonn. Lindsey, we know that you love speed. What do you make of Formula E?
I love it. I mean, the record was broken yesterday by Mitch. I think it was like 174 or something. So I appreciate the speed. I love it. I actually got to drive the pace car yesterday, and I had so much fun. So I'm jealous of these guys, excited to watch today, and excited for a new event here in Portland.
For anyone who hasn't experienced the G-force of even in the safety car, what's that actually like?
I know, it's hard to explain, but it's very fun. I mean, I get really excited going fast, so I think I'm not the average person. But yeah, I mean, there's just, your stomach is moving from side to side, and you have to be very focused and always looking ahead. It's a really fun experience.
Lindsey, absolute pleasure talking to you. Enjoy the day today. And as for us here at home, plenty more to come here in Formula E right from Portland, Oregon.
Away from the track, an adventurous couple have travelled further than most to join us for the race this weekend, as Saunders found out.
I'm here just outside of Portland, and I'm going to be catching up with a couple who have set out on an incredible all-electric expedition. It's 10 weeks ago, Chris and Julie Ramsey started an epic journey from the North Pole to the South Pole. 17,000 miles, 14 countries over 10 months, something that has never even been attempted before. So, as far as road trips go, I think you're giving a new lease of life to the phrase. What do you hope to achieve?
Adventure really kind of captures my heart and my imagination. Pole to pole is kind of the biggest expedition that's ever been done by an automotive vehicle.
Yes, we're pushing it to the extreme, but we genuinely believe they're at a stage now where they are an option.
And there's a reason why no one's probably done this before, because it does have a lot of challenges. Can you tell us what you've experienced so far?
Ice fields, pressure ridges, boulders, valleys, deep snow, soft snow lakes, you name it.
If we saw a mountain, we just had to drive over it.
Yeah, so it's challenging for an ICE vehicle, let alone an EV.
Have you found people to be quite receptive?
This EV, this car, has connected us with so many people that we wouldn't normally connect with. We've been powered by the kindness of people along the way.
And I mean, one of the major legacies of this is to improve infrastructure. So we've actually worked with a charging company in South America. For the last 4 years, we've been putting network in the ground to support this expedition, but also supporting EV drivers.
So this is just the beginning of, you know, something really exciting.
Hello. You good?
Let me introduce you to Chris and Julie, pole to pole.
Hi, Chris. Nice to meet you. Hello.
Let's go and check it out.
Let's go have a look.
Let's go.
It's a bit of everything. Look at the wide body.
In the Arctic, we start at 10 psi of tyre pressure.
10 psi?
And we will go down to about 4.
No.
No, it's actually extra grip.
So, what's that?
That is our rooftop tent park.
That's more than a 3-star hotel, man. Oh man, it's huge. It's a lot of space. So this is my car, number 23. We've got 17 Norman's car on the other side. This weekend, I think we will be reaching 290, maybe 300 kph. So it's a very quick electric car.
What size are the tyres? Do you know?
I don't even know.
Ah, okay.
I should ask some of the engineers, but do you know? No. We've got your own logo here.
I know.
This is so cool. I cannot believe this. I'm excited to be here in the first place and meet you guys, but
hopefully we can achieve the pole, as you were saying earlier, you know?
Yes, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. So good showing them around. Our car, they're showing them their car, and yeah, just being amazing.
Thank you so much. Cheers, Saunders.
Now we are just moments away before the Portland E-Prix kicks off. The drivers are now getting suited and booted and putting their helmets on. But we had a bit of a breaking news story earlier in the day, just before qualifying with DS Penske. They were caught breaking a few of the regulations. Let's go down to Saunders, who's got more.
So I'm here at the back of the DS Penske garage with Jean-Eric Ver. Now you guys are going to be, both you and Stoffel are going to be starting from the pit lane because of that penalty given for a very unusual device. We've never really heard much about it, a scanner. What more can you say about it?
Well, it's basically to do something that everybody else does, which is, you know, people take pictures of the tires to know the serial number, so the teams know what tires the other drivers are using. To try and understand their run plan, and we just find a way to not have to take pictures, and it's basically a machine that reads the serial number. So in no case we had any access to live data like the FIA has been saying. It's absolutely not true. So yeah, I will not comment too much on that, but yeah, we didn't have any advantage. We don't know the tire pressure of the other teams, we don't know the temperatures, we don't have any live data or their brakes or their acceleration or anything like this, so it's utterly wrong, you know, what's being said.
Okay, well, to move on to a slightly more positive outlook, you're starting from the back, but in any circuit...
I'm not going to have anybody in front.
Exactly, right? And
yeah.
in a circuit that energy saving is going to be massively beneficial, what do you feel is on the cards here?
Actually, yeah. If there was one race for this problem to happen, it would have been this one, because I believe and I hope that it's going to be easy to overtake if you have a good energy management and that you're able to save quite a good energy at the beginning of the race, that you may be able to come back through the field later in the race. So, yeah, I'm staying positive. I think we have a good chance in that race, and yeah, I think the teams needs it. So I'm going to do my everything to try and bring valuable points, you know, today.
Just quickly, points on the cards?
Sorry?
Points on the cards?
Yeah, definitely.
Love it. Thanks, Jeff.
Nick Cassidy, currently in P10 position. In terms of the championship standings, you're very much in that magical top 3. With that in mind, what does success look like for you today?
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's always going to be a tough race for us, I think. This track was never going to suit us on paper, but look, it could throw up some interesting challenges and there could be some good opportunities, so let's see.
And in terms of P10, tough that you're not at the front or the back, so it will be very busy and risky. Is that kind of in your strategy thinking?
Well, you're trying to build up the excitement here for the viewers, but no, it's okay. We'll be all right.
Good luck today, man.
Thanks.
Well, Jaden, congratulations. You delivered on the challenge. How was it?
It was fantastic. He's the best. He's the best. I love him. He's great.
He is. He's a great character,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah,
He
yeah.
brings a lot of joy in the Formula E paddock. Always a very cool, calm and happy chap, despite whatever the results are. But I mean, really, we're getting towards final moments before racing gets underway here. Nelson, in terms of the challenges that these guys at the back of the grid have got on their hands, it's also really hot. We didn't have this heat yesterday during the shakedown and FP1 session. Is that going to be, you know, a bit of a challenge for the drivers today?
Compared to the amount of energy that this track uses of these energies of these cars. I mean, it's going to be so, they're going to have to be so patient this race and be so calm because, I mean, the straight is so long. I mean, where we're standing right here, they're probably going to be lifting close to where we are, and they're going to be coasting all the way to the first corner. That's a long way over here to be patient, not to go back on the throttle and try, not wanting to lose a position. So the drivers are going to have to be smart, calm, and know when to position themselves at the end of the race, because that's when it's going to count.
Yeah, a massive challenge there. Jaden, you've got to know these drivers over the past couple of days, and obviously from your time here before. If you had a prediction, yeah, it's a hard one, isn't it?
It's a hard one.
You under the bus,
because I love everybody, and it is a hard one. But, you know, I've been homies with Sam Bird for a long time, so I think I would have to go with Bird on this one, just because I love how he drives, I love how he does it, and he's a homie, and I think he's got it. He's got it in the bag.
I wish Sam could hear what you've just said right now. Can someone on the team radio tell him?
100%.
I genuinely think that would give him the boost that he needs, because he's had such a tough time over the last couple of races, you know, with the incidents with his teammates.
Totally.
I think you backing him now is exactly what he needs. So maybe
that's my guy. That's my guy.
You,
yeah.
You know. Wicked. Okay, Nelson.
Well, that guy right starting in the front, our Andretti boy, I think he did an amazing lap, and he's on it for the championship.
Yeah.
I think if he doesn't win it, he's going to finish top 3, and his contenders of the championship are all the way back there. So he is going to have the easy part, not the easy part, but I mean, it's going to be a bit less stressful than for who's coming from the back.
Absolutely. Well, we cannot wait to go racing here in Portland. Will Jake Dennis remain at the top of the championship standings? Could he be making history for Andretti in Portland with their first win in Formula E? Let's find out.
All 22 cars are ready to go racing in Portland, but only 20 are on the grid. We're going to have 2 cars starting from the pit lane in this race today. But with the nature of this circuit and the energy saving that's going to be such a part of this race, it is still going to be a race open pretty much to all of those 22 cars. We're up towards the top end of the grid right now, though, and we're looking at Jake Dennis, who is going to be starting from that important pole position. Don't forget, you can scan the Formula E predictor, top left of the screen right now, to make predictions. Enjoy being a part of this Formula E event that's going to be taking place in Portland, the 4th venue in the United States, and an opportunity for young drivers and more experienced drivers to prove just what they can do around a track that's going to provide plenty of entertainment. Round 12 of the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship sees the Southwire Portland E-Prix taking place for the first time. The race will be battled out for 28 laps and will require clever tactical plans on saving energy as well as full-on attacks for top results. It's a fast and flowing circuit, quite different to the street tracks we see so often. And Alan, there are some key areas here as well.
Yes, certainly it is a fast-flowing circuit, and it's got really high speeds, especially at the end of the start and finish straight. And as we look down into turn 1, 2, that's going to be a lot of overtaking there, especially at the start of this race. But I think it could also be decided here. Turn 7, attack mode is on the outside, but an extremely wide entry. Important to get a good exit to run all the way through to the fast chicane at turn 10. A lot of action here, and a lot of people making mistakes into the final corner. But the run to the finishing line is going to be key.
Well, let's take a look at how they are lining up for the start of this race. And two of them will be starting from the pit lane. There you are, Jean-Eric Verne and Stoffel van Dorn with penalties starting from the pit lane. Down towards the back, Mitch Evans, a front runner in the championship, along with Sergio Sette Camara on the 10th row of the grid. And the championship leader coming into this event, not now, but Pascal Wehrlein starting down in 18th place, and Roberto Neri. Then Sebastian Buemi and Sam Bird, very experienced racers, but long way down on the 8th row of the grid. Dan Ticktum and Lucas Di Grassi. Actually, Di Grassi having one of his better qualifyings for a little while there. Nico Muller in the Abt Cupra and Eduardo Mortara in the Maserati. They're on the 6th row of the grid. Into the top 10, and Nick Cassidy, who's a major championship contender, could come well from there. Robin Freins in the Abt Cupra, well up in the top 10. Andre Lotterer, maybe he could support his teammate Antonio Felix da Costa in the Porsche, starting from 7th place. Jake Hughes starting in 6th in the Neon McLaren. Max Günther, a star in Jakarta, he starts 5th. Then René Rast, a superb effort in qualifying. Norman Nato in the Nissan, 3rd on the grid. And then onto the front row. 2nd, Sacha Fenastras, and then Jake Dennis, who has that pole position. But he's looking for his first win of the several races now since the start of the year when he won that opening race in Mexico. But he is now leading the championship thanks to the extra 3 points that he got in qualifying. So we will see how it goes for his team, the Andretti team. It's the 11th pole. First pole at Portland, of course. First time we've seen Formula E at the Portland track. We're going to see how it all goes. In a moment, they will be moving forward, and then it'll be the all-important run down to the first corner.
It certainly will be, as normally they do burnouts, but they'll be trying to save all the energy possible. In fact, a small little one there from Jake Dennis, but very minimal for everybody else. But that run to turn 1 is going to be important. As Jake Dennis mentioned in a pre-show, not necessarily does he want to be leading all of this race, but he wants to be in that main gap. That's the thing that's going to be really interesting about it, is we're going to see a race like no other we have in Formula E, because it's going to be all about the movement and positioning just in advance of the blast with maybe 5-6 laps to go.
So we are getting all set for the start of the race. Jake Dennis is on the right as you look at it from there. The number 27, the Avalanche Andretti car. Sacha Fenastras is alongside in the Nissan, and we've got several Nissan-powered cars. We're getting ready for the start. Green flag from the back. And we are going to be going into 28 laps around the Portland International Raceway. Lights out, Formula E is go in Portland, and it's a good start by the poleman, who Jake Dennis gets away extremely well. The McLarens on the inside are also going well. René Rast up on the inside trying to take 2nd place. I'm not sure he's going to quite do it. Aren't we going to see any contact through this first chicane? Everybody trying to jostle for position, but it's clean so far.
Yeah, certainly it's very wide in there, so it is a clean now, and you can see the McLarens trying to sort of push their way through. One of them's up to 3rd, the other one is in 5th. It's actually René Rast that's made it past Norman Nato into 3rd place. He's been very quick, and so he'll be quite keen to stay with the lead battle, being Dennis and Fenastras. But as you see Antonio Felix da Costa coming through, now this is in the middle of the circuit, but again with that wide sort of track, it allows them to all get through cleanly right now.
So Jake Dennis making that perfect getaway. Fenastras in 2nd place, René Rast in 3rd. Still some side-by-side action. The attack mode activation zone not in, you can't use it yet. You've got to do a couple of laps.
And Nico Muller's been dropped down to the back, so something's happened with him. He's dropped away a little bit.
Okay, so that's interesting to see. 2 cars started from the pit lane. They will be coming from the back, of course. You can see Nick Cassidy in the green Envision. He's made up good places, you know. He started down in 10th, and he's now into 5th place, 6th place already. 5th place now, in fact, for Cassidy. So that's a really good start. He's just gone past Hughes. So Nick Cassidy, who we've seen come from, he's won from 8th place, from 9th place. Can he win from 10th place today?
Well, certainly he's muscled his way halfway up. He was, 10th when he started off, and now he's already up into 5th. But Jake Dennis still leading from Fenastras, and then Nato is back up into 3rd, having deposed René Rast.
Yeah, we're riding on board with the race leader. Now, everyone was saying you don't want to lead this race because of the drag that you develop by not having a car in front of you, but at the moment, Jake Dennis is still in front.
Yeah, I think at the end he's going to probably pop very early in to try and get one of the attack modes, and that will drop him back into the pack and it will start mixing itself around. I would suggest that there's going to be quite a lot of people leading this race at one point or another, and right now it's Dennis that's still out in front as he comes through to that point. Attack mode's on the outside here, but they can't use it just yet.
Antonio Felix da Costa making it a 3 abreast on the exit of that corner. He's been gaining a couple of places. He was battling away with Jake Hughes.
And if you look right at the back, you've got Vern and Van Dorn there already right onto the tail of the chasing pack, which is by Evans in 20th, and then it's Vern Van Dorn.
Da Costa's now got past Cassidy, so Da Costa really is on a bit of a flying run at this stage, but as you say, there's changes all up and down.
Well, Da Costa wants to strategically get into control this race because he said clearly he was going to try to help his teammate, and his teammate is 19th at the moment, so he needs to control the race to allow his teammate to come through.
And he's got Nick Cassidy now trying to get back past him, so you're looking at Da Costa under attack from the green and Vision. Oh, it's all getting a bit tight through that section. I wondered if there'd be a little bit of contact, but they've got through.
There's the nose is broken on Robin Frines in the App Cooper, and the nose is gone in that car, so there has been a little bit of contact there.
Yeah, a bit of damage done to the car as well. In fact, that's Nico Muller, I think. That's Nico Muller, the other Abt Cooper teammate, as you say, to Robin Frines. And that doesn't look good. Yeah, bits flying off the car as well. And of course, that could perhaps lead to a safety car. I'm not sure how many bits have actually flown off.
They seem to fly off at the exit of turn 4, so they went onto the grass there as Robin Frines goes into attack mode. Now you've got a list of people coming into their attack mode, including the 2 DS Penske's at the back. And so therefore they've now started their 2 minutes on everybody apart from Lucas de Grassi, who's gone for the full 4 minutes, and so has Evans as well. So quite a bit of different strategy going on there, but Jake Dennis still leading this race that he said he didn't want to lead.
Yeah, that's interesting to me that he hasn't backed right off, and we'll see how it goes. 8 minutes of attack mode in this race, as we've seen, and you can split that up in different ways. You can do it in 2 minutes and then 6 minutes, or 4 minutes and 4 minutes, and you'll see them split up. Now you can see this bunch, people backing off a bit earlier. I'm sure Jake wants someone else to lead, and you can see them all take it very steady here.
Oh, another damaged nose there as well on one of the Nissans. He's got a bit of a hit.
I think the 2 Nissans actually made a bit of contact with each other, didn't they, in that one? I think Fenestrad just ran into the back of Nato a little bit. So Nick Cassidy is now our race leader in the Envision. He is being chased by Jake Dennis, who led the early stages. And yeah, a little bit of contact. I think the Nissan's got away with it. Max Gunter's in there as well, the blue Maserati, the car that won last time out in Jakarta. So this is important. Yeah, Nick Cassidy's gone into attack mode now, so that loses him a few places, but it does give him the extra power in the car.
Gives him the extra power, but also puts him into the pack, and that gains them about 5% of energy efficiency because they are in the tow. That means that they use 5% less energy to do the same speed on the straights.
Well, let's see how this goes side by side. Still a lot of action going on. Dan Tipton trying to make some progress. The number 33 there, right down the pack at this stage. He's down in 9th position, back on board with Jake Dennis. He's currently running in 3rd position as they come across the line once more, and Norman Nato is our race leader, and again everybody's just trying to play in position. Antonio Felix da Costa in that 2nd place.
And we've got a yellow flag at turn 8, which is where the attack mode is. Roberto Meri has stopped there, so we need to keep an eye on that, whether that comes into play with potentially a full course yellow or safety car.
The bunch all very much together at this stage, isn't it? On board with Sacha Fenestraz on the right-hand side, and we have gone safety car. Okay, so now everybody will have to back off, just keep in the row. There's a couple of places there where you'd probably be difficult to know. And you mentioned Roberto Meri, there he is, stopped at the side of the track, so there's obviously been some sort of issue with the car. Doesn't look like damage.
198, am I taking attack with the yellow T7? Makes sense.
Well, a little bit of strategy going on, but in the background you can just see, going very slowly, Roberto Meri trying to get out of the way. No power at all by the looks of things.
No, he's down in the cockpit trying to adjust something, maybe trying to do a bit of a control-alt reset. and ultimately for him, it's the end of the day.
Norman Nato is the current leader from Antonio Felix da Costa, but Jake Dennis is there in third. Long line of cars all together here, and waiting for this safety car period to clear away Roberto Meri's car. Now we're just having a little look at some of the action from René Rast. He ended up on the grass, didn't he? A little bit of contact there.
So here we see it. This is coming into the right-hander, leading onto the back straight, and he's got one of the Maseratis on the inside. Just a little bit of a kiss puts him down over the curb, and that he lost a couple of positions. I don't think that's going to be a real problem longer term, but clearly not something that he wanted to have happen to him.
A couple of the drivers in the end of their attack mode, but of course they couldn't use the power in the last part of that because they're on a safety car.
No, they couldn't, but at the end of it, I don't think it changes too much in this, the way this race is actually going, because with people backing off, they can sort of make their way through. And it's very wide circuit here, Ben, and for the majority, so there's overtaking opportunities anyway without having the extra 50 kilowatts of power.
Because the only car in the top 10 who's taken attack so far.
So interesting, yeah, they're just reporting to Jake Dennis. There's only Nick Cassidy of that lead group that has gone into the attack mode activation zone. The safety car leading them around at this point. But you can see there was a graphic came up with a lot of passes already having been made. And certainly Antonio Felix da Costa has made some very good progress. He had qualified in the top 10, but he surged his way through. So he's up there in second place at the moment. Norman Nato is currently our race leader in the Nissan. He qualified well again. He's been doing a good job with that. Hasn't had a podium so far this year. He's had a victory in the past, but whether he's going to be able to maintain this performance, and leading, of course, might not be the thing to do. Safety car still leading them round. Norman Nato leading from Antonio Felix da Costa and Jake Dennis. Let's take a look at the start once again here.
Yeah, here it was a very good launch off the line by Jake Dennis, but then there's a lot of people moving and trying to find the position as Dennis lifted off into turn one. And it was quite clean, as you say. It's pretty wide there, and usually it concertinas up as they come into that left, but nothing particular happened there. It was later on, actually, where there was the incident with Nico Muller and the nose of his car. But coming now, we get into the point, Antonio Felix da Costa, who's definitely made some big moves. And this was the first one as he just sort of slides round the outside of the Avalanche Andretti car into the first corner.
I've seen many incidents at this chicane in the past watching races at Portland, and actually it was pretty clean, I have to say, for a first lap.
Yeah, I think they all realise it's 28 laps this particular race, and there's a lot of overtaking to be done. It doesn't have to necessarily be a dive bomb at the first corner. However, you know, a few of them, well, yep, did try a dive bomb at one point or another. And I think we will see this definitely getting a little bit more robust, and I would say a little bit more elbows out as this race continues.
Yeah, that was Dan Tickton taking the wide line in, but he was being cautious. He didn't do anything silly. He was in behind Nick Cassidy, and you can see here, even here, he wasn't braking too late. He was giving space. Everybody was pretty sensible on that opening lap, knowing that the way this race is going to go, it's going to come down to the last few laps when it really matters.
Yeah, Tickton made his way forward quite quickly there, but he's actually dropped back down to 11th as it sort of settled down. So I think there is a lot of just natural ebb and flow where people want to sort of move themselves a little bit up, and then ultimately they sort of fall back again as it turns itself around.
I think there's still a little bit of a group of cars down towards the back that is a bit of a surprise as we see Roberto Meri's car being moved out. For example, Pascal Wehrlein didn't qualify well, but he's not made much ground yet, down to 16th. Sam Bird, 17th. Then you've got Sebastian Buemi in 18th, and Mitch Evans, another championship contender, down in 19th place.
Yeah, and then the two DS Penske's that started from the pit lane, but they were on the back of this group by the end of lap one. They're saving energy. They're just sitting in the back of the slipstream, and they're playing the long game. They're looking at the last laps, not the first laps. Now, we saw Fenestras have a little bit of a tap into the first corner earlier on, which we think it was his teammate that hit the back of. There you see the nose, and it's only held up by the side supports, not held up by the main supports. my opinion, that nose is going to come off at some point very, very soon. The first curb he hits, then it's going to come off, potentially get lodged under the car. So normally he should be coming into the pits for a nose change, as the safety car is going to come in this lap. So preparation for a restart in probably about 15 seconds.
Okay, Sasha, we have to box end of the lap to change the front wing. We have to box end of the lap to change the front wing.
Well, there we go. No surprise really there, as the safety car is heading in. Sasha Fenestraz is going to have to come into the pits to get that removed. So we're ready for the restart effectively here, and Norman Nato has got that opportunity ahead of Antonio Felix da Costa, Jake Dennis in third place, then Rene Rast, and we've got Nick Cassidy up there as well. Nick Cassidy in fact ahead of Rast, so across the line and into the pits. Fenestraz has obeyed the order there to come in, and that was obviously going to cost him. That's really going to probably put him out of a chance of scoring points, unless there are lots of more safety cars. You're watching Pascal Wehrlein, I've noticed, towards the back there, trying to make up some ground. Up front, meanwhile, it's still Nato who leads from da Costa.
Yeah, it was Pascal Wehrlein looked at that restart, and he's just trying to sneak his way up through. He's now up into 15th place, and I think he's got his sights just gently moving himself forward as Fenestraz comes out. New nozzle on the car and him on his way, but really for them that's really disappointing, because he was definitely one of the quickest cars all weekend so far.
Yeah, well, here we go. We got a few going into attack mode now. So Jake Dennis, Norman Nato, the race leader, he's gone into it. So Nick Cassidy, and so Cassidy for the second time has now gone into attack mode. He's getting it done early on. In fact, because so many have gone into attack mode, Nato is still leading, isn't he? So normally you would expect him to have dropped back down, but a whole bunch went in there.
Yeah, pretty much everybody's used at least one attack mode, and Nick Cassidy has used two, as has Nico Müller, but Nico Müller's right down the back after the incident earlier on. But this is a strategic point of them trying to shuffle their way back through the grid. The one person that hasn't is Edo Mortara. Now, historically, Mortara has left it very, very late to use his attack mode, and that's worked extremely well for him in the past. However, we've still got to wait to see whether it's actually going to play out in this particular game, because I think, honestly, this is a new game for them all. It's the first time they've played this sort of roulette.
Yeah, you just said fastest lap Mortara as well, so yeah, see how this plays out, as you say. Norman Nato still leading that group at this stage. Da Costa in second place ahead of Jake Dennis, and this is certainly helping Jake Dennis in the Avalanche Andretti. Has Porsche power as well. We've got the telemetry showing us here how that power is being used, Alan, on the graphics on the left.
Yeah, how it's being distributed and how it's being used, and it's a very interesting, because you've got a front powertrain that's recuperating energy, and you've got a rear powertrain that is also recuperating, but boosting and giving them that acceleration, that 300 kilowatts of power, and 350 when they're in the attack mode. My goodness, that just looks like as you've got Cassidy's radio.
Jags, very close to the other Jags now. Track position is good.
Close to the other Jags. Are they going to work together? We did wonder whether some of these teams were going to work together a bit more, and we shall wait and see. Max Günther, in the meantime, has made a bit of progress here. He's up there in sort of third, fourth place as they head down into the chicane. Everybody trying to give each other room. They don't want to hit each other, but they want to be in that top group somewhere. Max Günther there, just ahead of Nick Cassidy.
And that's where it's quite tricky then, because you've got a situation where you have got, people not exactly going flat out, so you're not sure how not flat out they're going to go, because they're trying to get themselves into the right position in the group as opposed to necessarily the front position in the group at this particular stage. And so you can lose a nose quite easily there.
Lucas Di Grassi is doing better than normal. He's up in fifth place. We haven't seen that for a little while. A couple more going into attack mode. Da Costa and Di Grassi. And look, we've got the energy figures coming up for the first time on our screen as to who has got how much energy left. And you can see Norman Nato having led for a few laps. He's got less energy, but Mortara even less, on 71%.
Yeah, you're right. And a big crash there on the left-hand side. Something's happened. A huge crash there as one hit the wall. Don't know who that is.
No, we haven't.
It's 51. It's Nico Müller, I think.
Okay.
And Müller, who was under investigation with fines for causing a collision, his teammate, but he's had an off on the back straight.
Oh dear, that's a great shame, and I wonder if he's going to be able to get the car back on. Meanwhile, we've got some safety car back in play once again.
Big crash, no more brakes, just went straight on.
No brakes working, he just went straight on, so that was a frightening one. We'll get another look at it, I'm sure, but Nico Müller, yeah, very much out of this race, and there's been quite a lot of damage to the car.
It has been, because he was on the grass on the other side, so I'm not exactly sure how he got to there. He actually crashed about 3/4 way down the run between attack mode and the chicane, which normally we call it a straight, but it's a curve. But he was on the grass fully in the left and then came into the wall in the right.
Well, tricky times indeed for Nico Müller. Up front at the moment, it is Nick Cassidy who has the lead. Well, Nico Müller is out of the car and he's okay, but there's clearly a lot of damage done to his machine, and the brakes didn't work. And it will be interesting to see when we see the replay of this, if we get an opportunity as to exactly what happened to him. Always a bit tricky to read, but that has not gone well for the team, for the Abt Cupra. He definitely said he had no brakes at all, and I think that maybe just led, there was nothing he could do but crash into something.
Yeah, I think that, well, there's obviously the suspension and the wheels are pointing every direction apart from the forward direction, so if he's lost the brakes as well and bounced from one side, he couldn't stop it from crossing the circuit. Very fortunate that everybody in the train had all passed by this particular point, but Nico Müller clearly very out of the race, and also his teammate is dropped down as well. Robin Frins down to 14th. As the leader is Nick Cassidy with Gunter second, Nato third, Mortara fourth, Da Costa, and then Jake Dennis from
So let's see if we can find out what happened to Nico Müller. That was, we saw him go off there.
Yeah, but that was at full speed there.
Yeah.
He went off. And he's obviously had an issue before it, because you don't go off in the straight at that sort of speed without having an issue prior to it. So I'm not sure where that accident actually started, but we only saw that really at the end of it.
That's right, because that section is normally a flat-out section that he's coming through, isn't it?
And he speared off left. So he's exited stage left there very, very quickly, and then the cars turned around and came across the circuit as well. So a big incident there. I think they'll have to look into what the start of the cause was, not the end.
Yeah. Well, it's going to take a few minutes to move this car out of the way with the damage that's been done to it. It needs a full lift, pretty much. So, difficult time for Nico Müller, but it's good to see that he's got out of that car safely. Nick Cassidy is our race leader under safety car, our second safety car period of this race so far, after Nico Müller has had to get out of the car, damage done after a brake problem with his machine. But Nick Cassidy out in front with Max Gunter in second place. Gunter, who was so strong last time out in Jakarta. Norman Nato has been leading quite a few of the laps. Edo Mortara in the other Maserati in fourth place. Then we've got Antonio Felix da Costa, who's moved up the order pretty effectively, fifth place. And the man who started from pole, Jake Dennis, in sixth place, from René Rast in seventh position. As it stands right now, if this was the way to finish, but this is very unpredictable, Nick Cassidy would actually go back into the lead he lost in the championship in the last round in Jakarta.
Ben, I think that graphic's going to change quite a few times during the course of this particular race. But just as we're now on lap 12 of 28, we're coming up to the halfway point, as we'll listen to Cassidy.
Last energy update, how were Dennis and Da Costa? Okay.
We gather that the accident that took place there for Nico Müller was a 27G accident. That's a hefty whack, isn't it?
It wouldn't surprise me, because he did go off at a fair old rate of knots, so he's at the back of it. You can see there he's just accelerating. But why he's not turning right, I think, is the first question.
Was there a clash with the car alongside? I couldn't really see.
I didn't really see. I'd like to see that again if possible, but at the moment, I would say he went off very quickly to the left, didn't slow down because there wasn't anything to slow down with, which suggests that there was also a bit of acceleration going when he didn't necessarily want it. But it's without doubt a technical issue, and ultimately it's put him out of the race.
Well, Nick Cassidy is controlling everything behind the safety car at the moment.
Now, we saw the energy there in about 70% at the time, 71, 72, 73. Now, they're coming up to half race distance, so you think, well, actually, they could go a lot quicker. But with these two safety cars, they've got the option to add laps on at the end of this race. So in real terms, this race could be maybe 30 laps long, and so therefore that extra energy they are saving at the moment behind the safety car, they will ultimately have to use in racing conditions. And so therefore, as much as they might be able to breathe a little bit more quietly in the car, they'll still have to do the work at the end of the race.
Yeah, it can be up as many as 7 laps. Let's have another look at this.
So it's a car at the back, and it's on the left-hand side, and he maybe clips the car behind. Maybe it's damaged the right front. But
look as though
very minimal, if anything.
Yeah, that's right.
But it's the speed that he's going across. That was the thing that surprised me. I actually think he's tapped the car ahead of him, which has broken the right front suspension. That's why he couldn't turn. But he had no brakes then to be able to slow the car down.
Yeah, that's very possible, actually. And we have seen with these Gen 3 cars that you can, if you make contact front suspension-wise, it can quite often damage quite quickly. You've got to be careful. You've got to stay off contact.
Yeah, they don't. The thing is, the suspension's not designed to take an impact from the front. It's designed to basically go up and down and take the standard driving load.
Well, in the overtakes that have been made so far, the man who's leading the race, Nick Cassidy's done 14, De Costa's done 12, Mutara and Tickton have both done 12, and Seta Camara has done 10, and fair play to him because Seta Camara was quite a long way down on the grid, hadn't gone well in qualifying, but he's actually up into 12th place. Whether he's going to be able to continue to turn that around, but also look at where Jean-Eric Verne and Stoffel van Dorn are on that list. They started from the pit lane, remember. A safety car certainly kept them in the group. They got into the group, to be fair, even before the safety car. They were at the back of the group. And Verne up into 13th, Van Dorn in 15th. In Monaco, both cars started from the back row of the grid. Both got in the points. Looks as though it might be a possibility again for DS Penske, despite getting a penalty for something they really shouldn't have done. They have still got an opportunity to score some points today.
Yeah, they felt strongly, as we heard from Jean-Eric Verne prior to the race, that they didn't feel the penalty was just, but the FIA, the governing body, and they felt it definitely was just. And it was quite a strong penalty to start from the back of the grid. However, Jean-Eric Verne said that, yeah, points are definitely on the cards for them today, and I kind of believe them, to be honest with you, with both cars as well.
Well, we shall see just how that goes, but for the Abt Cupra team, that's been a bit of a scary moment. Let's go and hear from team boss Thomas Viermeier.
Yeah, so down here with Thomas at Abt Cupra, not an ideal start to the race for Nico Müller. What can you tell us at this point? What happened?
We don't got so much information from him because he was scared a little bit about the position where we were standing. This was the reason why he jumped out immediately. We only heard that he had no brakes, and we don't know why. So maybe it happened with the wing damage, what we faced before, but I don't know currently.
I mean, it looked like a pretty nasty incident. You can see why he was a bit rattled by it. Is he on his way back?
He's on the way back. It was a huge one, to be honest, but he's fine, and this is the most important thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Good to hear. So, obviously, we've still got Robin in the mix now. What's the rest of this race going to look like once it restarts?
We will see. We will see. From the energy, we're on the same level. So, but it will be a crazy race. You will see. The last 5-6 laps will be the important ones.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So tough there for Thomas Viermeier and for Abt, a team that we know extremely well. And they're fighters, they'll dig themselves out of any sort of difficult position they're in, but certainly it's a very valid point that Thomas made. It could also have been some damage on the front wing that happened earlier on, because remember he had a little bit of an incident earlier, but therefore they need to get it back. But when they're talking about 27G, that's 27 times his body weight basically he was when he hit the wall. That's pretty heavy impact, and that will probably mean as well that they'll have to change things like the battery in the car for the next race coming up when they get back to Europe.
Yeah, fair point. So Robin Freins, who we mentioned as teammate to Nico Müller, who's still running in this race, he's down in 14th position, so still plenty of work to be done there for him if he's going to be able to get into the points. As in that top 10 at the moment, it is very much Nick Cassidy, Norman Natter, Max Günther, Eder Mortara, both Maseratis up in the top 4 at the moment. Whether they're going to be able to hang on to that, Andrea Felix de Costa, Jake Dennis, still the man we're going to be keeping a very close eye on, there's no doubt about it. Jake Dennis currently in 6th place, the pole sitter, and the man who led those early stages, but they're still behind safety car for now.
Ben, 20th place, Sacha Fenestraz. Very quick all weekend, had the sort of tap with his teammate, broke his nose, came in. We thought, yep, that race is over. This safety car's brought him right back into the game. Now, not fully into the game, because obviously he's at the back, but we've seen the pace and the capability to come through, that he's not out of the game right now. So it's a very fortunate safety car for some, unfortunate for others.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So we've lost 2 cars from this now. Roberto Meri, whose car just stopped out on track. That produced his first safety car. Now Nico Müller, after what was a scary-looking accident. Thankfully, he's fine. But yeah, so we're down to 20 cars, and as you say, Fenestraz, who was on the front row, is now effectively at the back, but not without a chance because of the slipstreaming that will be a big key part of the remainder of this race. Nick Cassidy, he won't want to stay in the front. Once the safety car comes in, he will not want to stay in front for very long.
No, that's very true, but in Berlin, we thought he was also going to do the same thing, but he still controlled the whole race from the front and did a superb job and kind of defied the odds, to be honest with you. So therefore, I wouldn't count him out to want to stay there, but I would also suggest you're right that he is going to fall back into the pack at some point.
He has no attack remaining. You've got the list coming up there as to who's got how many minutes of attack mode to come. So 6 minutes for Nato, 6 minutes for Günther and Mortara. Dan Tickton and Pascal Wehrlein still the full 8 minutes. So having a little look at that, yeah, that was the Nissan contact that we were talking about that did the damage to the front wing on Fenestraz. But now, as you say, having had a new front wing fitted, he is actually at the back of the group, and the car hopefully is fine. They only brought him in because of the potential danger of that falling off and affecting somebody else's car, which is a fair point. You don't want to run over a piece like that on the road. But he is still in the race. He's still down at the back of the field. Safety car staying out for at least one more lap. But I would think we may get a chance to get this race underway next time around. They've done a good job of clearing away Nico Müller's car. And I would think we're going to be back to racing pretty soon. The safety car, the Porsche Taycan Turbo, being driven by Bruno Correa. He's controlling the pace. He knows all about all it takes. Safety car we see reasonably often coming out in Formula E. Jakarta, funnily enough, we didn't see much of it, but here in Portland, where we thought there'd actually be plenty of space and not too much bashing going on, there has been a few problems.
Yeah, certainly. Well, Roberto Meri stopping, that was purely technical, and it just happened to be at a point on the circuit there was very little way for the car to be extracted without having the safety car. Yeah. And obviously with Nico Müller, that was a little bit more of a serious incident, but thankfully, I do agree with you, it's going to go back to green very, very soon.
Yeah, so we shall see how it goes. We don't know how many extra laps we're going to get yet. We will get that from race control in a little while before we know how many extra laps from the 28, but they will add to that because of these safety car periods. Now that's interesting. Nato has just gone ahead of Cassidy. Why would there be a car passing another under the safety car? Maybe race control have reanalyzed when the safety car was announced. It may have been that they were virtually side by side, and they have now reassessed it and said no, Nato was actually in front.
Yeah, Scott Elkins is the race director, and he's very attuned to this type of racing and extremely good at rebalancing things if it feels it needs. This is as the safety car comes out. And as you can see, there was in that mass overtaking here, and so I think it's been when the safety car has actually flagged out that there was overtakes in position, and so therefore they've just reversed the situation.
Ironically, Nick Cassidy's probably going to be quite happy about this because it means on the restart he's picking up a slipstream. We are getting the safety car in on this lap, so now they are bunching up as close as possible as we head down to the latter part of the lap. We're getting green flag, and it's time to go racing once again. And it's Norman Nato who has led a good number of laps so far here today. But Nick Cassidy, I think, will be delighted to be in second place, picking up a bit of slipstream. Actually, he's dropped back a little bit there. But now they're beginning to pick it up. They don't want to get on the power too early. They don't want to use up too much. Nick Cassidy under pressure from Max Günther, but he may well just allow him through at this stage. Plenty of laps to go as Antonio Felix da Costa in the Porsche just beginning to move in there. But Nato with a comfortable advantage over Cassidy, then Günther in the blue Maserati, then da Costa in the white, red and black Porsche.
Push for attack.
push for attack, push for attack. That basically means get a bit of a gap and then go into the attack zone, which is coming around in 2 corners time. They've got this right here, then the left, then they go into attack zone. And so therefore Norman Nato's going to take his second attack mode. He's already done one, and he'll knock into his second one now. There he goes.
Yeah.
And following as well a Maserati, in fact 2 Maseratis following, then one of the McLarens, in fact both McLarens, and the remaining at Cooper of Robin Freins.
Attack mode, then maximum efficiency. I think Cassidy will slow down, try to lose the lead.
Yeah, well Cassidy is trying to slow things down just a little bit, as he doesn't want to be the one out in front, but nobody else really wants to be the one in front of either. So on board with Norman Nato here, and he is being followed by Jake Dennis. Jake Dennis is still very much a part of this, the man who's on pole, the man who took the championship lead as a result of the 3 extra points. Nick Cassidy's moving over to the inside. He's almost saying, okay guys, overtake me, I don't want to be leading for too long. And they're saying, no, we're quite happy to follow you at this point.
Yeah, they are, and it's a massive cars diving into the first corner there. And there's another front wing gone. I think that's
Fairline.
I think that's one of the Porsches. Yeah, there's another front wing that's been demolished there as they were sort of concertining through.
Nick Cassidy still there up in front. Da Costa in second place behind him. Gunter trying to go around the outside, and that has got him into a clear 3rd place, I think. But Nick Cassidy's just trying to control how much energy he's using. Edo Mukhtar also moving up well. We've got Jean-Eric Verne. He's up into that sort of lead group now, having started from the pit lane. You can see in the middle there, we've got his teammates Stoffel Van Dorn and Andre Lotterer going into attack mode.
And we still haven't seen exactly who lost that front wing. We saw Verline definitely going off the circuit. Someone else is going off the track there as well.
Exactly the same part of the track as Nico Muller, but thankfully gets back. That's Verne. Verne, who's been on the grass and come back on again. Nick Cassidy still leading. I couldn't quite see what happened there. That looked like a different incident.
Yeah, I think he was kind of just squeezed, maybe with someone else lifting off there and had to take avoiding action. Once you're on the grass, you've got very, very little grip. But he bounced across it and then came back on again. Lost a few positions, but I think he'll be fine.
So Nick Cassidy is still in front. He hasn't been able to give the lead to anybody, and this is using more energy because he has no drag benefits from following another car. He's got full amount of drag, and that is using up more of his electrical power, so he won't be happy in that respect. Oh, that was all a bit close. That's Mitch Evans, actually, who's joined up towards the front in the black and white Jaguar. He was a long way down when we were in the last safety car period.
Technique with saving is in the bin.
So last lap, the energy used, you can see 3% versus
10%. It's 10% benefit for Jake Dennis over Nick Cassidy for that exact point. And we're talking about that incident at turn 1. Pascal Verline is now under investigation for the incident at the first corner.
Interesting, and well, he will get another chance. But Nick Cassidy's driving cleverly here. He's leading, but he's somehow also saving some energy. Lots of passes, lots of overtakes going on behind. Listening to Sam.
I'm okay on energy. Just let me do my thing.
He says he's okay on energy, so he's just moving up the order as well now. We've got both of the Jaguars up there. Evans is now a bit of second, Bird is in 6th.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's so close with all the cars. The last thing you need, even on the straights, where normally you would ask an engineer to speak, is for someone to actually speak to you, because there's multitude of things going on. You're trying to look left, right, front, back, every single way at this moment.
It is incredible, and it almost makes me wonder, is this going to carry on like this, or are we going to suddenly see a whole group of cars just make contact with each other as they're all jostling for position?
You're very similar energy to Cassidy.
Similar energy to Cassidy. Are the Jaguar-powered cars going to work together? So look at the energy that's left. Da Costa actually is in a really good position. He's on 56% versus Cassidy on 53%. Sam Bird's in pretty good shape as well.
Look at Dennis as well, 55%. And so it looks like the Porsche-powered cars are actually looking better on energy at the moment. The one that's in a weak spot is Robin Freins. He's up in 4th place, but he's got a few percent less. So he's going to, I would say, the short shrift before he'll have to drop itself back down again. Someone else has gone off at the back, and that's definitely a front nose wing and possibly some suspension there.
Your best on energy, cars around. Stay where you are. Top 3 is good.
Might have been Fenestraz actually. I couldn't quite catch that, but yeah. And
5-second penalty for Muller leaving the track. I don't think that really matters any longer.
He's well out of this race. Nick Cassidy still holding on from Da Costa. It's all very tight behind. Sam Bird is up there now on the outside with the Jaguar. He's battling away with Max Günther, and it's good to see Sam Bird back up after difficult qualifying for Jaguar. Fenestraz is saying he's got a problem with his brakes. I don't know if that was the reason that we saw Fenestraz having a bit of trouble just a moment ago. Another driver was having trouble with brakes. And we know that Nico Müller reported that. Whether there was some other separate incident, I'm not sure. Cassidy still up front. Da Costa, though, in a very strong second place. Everybody just making their play here. Before we get into the closing stages, that's when this is going to go completely mad, as they all try to find the opportunity to get in front with the right amount of energy and saving it as much as possible at this point in the race. You can see how they're backing off a little bit.
Just make sure
as Nick Cassidy continues to lead. Lap 21 out of 28. We will have more laps coming up, though, from race control. They'll be telling us in a few moments. Oh, another bit of bodywork flying off one of the cars there.
Yeah, the side of the car there lost definitely its nose, and I think it is one of the Nissans. It looks like.
Yeah, that's Nato, that one. Actually, that's gone on Nato. So the man who was leading for so long, I think that might be a separate incident that's been going on there. Cassidy now has been passed by Da Costa. So we've got a little bit of a change going on up front all the time, and the Jaguars are definitely in a better shape here.
Yeah, and a car that's making very, very quick moves forward, Sergio Seti Camara, who's just been overtaken, though, by Jean-Eric Verne for 6th place. And so Seti Camara was really being robust at the last one, as we're looking back from leader, from Antonio Felix Da Costa, as he's now coming down the long straight towards the chicane.
Do you think that Da Costa has saved enough energy to get in front at this moment and now go for it, or we still got too many laps to go?
No, got too many laps, but he's wanting to stretch it out a little bit. He wants to make sure that everybody has to work, because he knows. Here's his radio.
Golf, it's 6.21. I think I can keep it. Copy that. Follow beeps.
So at this moment in time, he knows that he's got more energy than anybody else, and so therefore he can stretch them out a little bit. They've definitely picked up the pace, and so he's the first one to sort of, I would say, open the gap and try to make it move. Now, Da Costa's not in the fight for the championship. Pascal Wehrlein, his teammate, is in the fight for the championship. Wehrlein's in 10th, 2.8 seconds behind.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Wehrlein's still got plenty of work to do. And in that championship battle, Nick Cassidy's still in a good place. He's in 2nd position right now. Max Günther's up there. He's not quite fighting for the championship yet, although he scored so well in Jakarta that it's not impossible that if he gets a whole bunch of strong results, not only here in Portland, but in Rome and in the final races in London, then that is going to be interesting. Now, you're looking up the left.
Keep saving if you can. If you're not under pressure, keep saving it.
So they're still talking about, do we save energy, do we not, do we keep going for it? And you can see the power being used here. Don't know exactly how many laps are going to be added to this race yet. Still on the 28 mark on the graphic, but we know there will be extra laps added because of the safety car period.
Yeah, there will be, but certainly they're now actually starting to go for it. You see them weaving and snaking as they're trying to just break the train, and there's Pascal Wehrlein making an attack as well. So Wehrlein's starting to shuffle his way forward.
Jean-Eric Verne's up in that group as well. He's doing a good job. Everybody now beginning to realise this is getting to a key stage in the race, that you've got to be up front. I have to say, Antonio Felix Da Costa is pushing on hard, and he's opening up just a little bit of a gap over Nick Cassidy at this stage.
Yeah, but he's doing two things. He's leading the race, but he's also stretching everybody else further than what maybe they think, and that could actually play into his teammate's hand, because his teammate's saving energy, still sitting in the train. And so from that perspective, then, you know, it is quite a clever strategy from a team perspective that Da Costa's starting to play.
You're on board with Jean-Eric Verne. He's in attack mode, and so he's got a chance to get past Max Günther here. Is he going to make it?
Okay, we stay there with efficiency now. 1 minute left of attack. If any other alarm, give it.
He's been told to stay there. He's had the highest top speed of anybody, Jean-Eric Vergne, 272.3 kilometres per hour. We are seeing the fastest straight line speeds in Formula E that we have ever seen. And we've also noticed that it's not much different to what IndyCar's top speed is around this lap as well. Nick Cassidy, though, almost alongside Da Costa, and Vergne down the inside there. Vergne alongside Max Günther. So Vergne is very much a part of this. He's still got that few seconds of attack mode, but watch out for Jake Dennis behind. He's got attack mode at this point as well, and he made, Jake Dennis in the red and white car, the Avalanche Andretti. He's now attacking Jean-Eric Vergne as well. So all this group, any of them, I still think are potentially winners. Sam Bird just at the back of that section.
Yeah, but right now, if you look at it, Da Costa's backed it off a little bit. The last lap was the quickest lap for pretty much everybody. In fact, the quickest person on the circuit was Jake Dennis with a 1:11.4, and the leader being a second a lap slower. So now Jake Dennis is on the move, using that attack mode, that extra power, to slide his way through to the front. Not necessarily to take the lead, I don't think, but to be right in contention when it actually kicks off. There's now 3 laps to go. We expect added laps. With the amount of safety cars in the lens, that could be 3 or 4 laps extra.
Antonio Felix da Costa certainly weaving around a little bit. Jake Dennis in the red Avalanche Andretti going up into 3rd place.
You're better on energy than them by 2%, at least 2%.
Teams and drivers working so hard together on trying to understand how much energy they've got. Added 4 laps added, as the drivers are right now, but it's still changing. Dennis would be the championship leader by a better margin than he came into the race itself, having taken the lead after pole position earlier on today. He's got that attack mode zone though, and he's 3rd place right now.
Vergne 26%, 31% for Da Costa. Da Costa and Bird are the 2 with the highest energy at the moment, and Vergne, of the leading one, is one of the ones that's slowest, 25% now.
Yeah, Vergne is surely out of this because with that percentage, and indeed, interestingly, Van Dorn is very low too.
Yeah, they'll not pull it back from there. That's far too much, as you see now. Vergne starting to drop down as they're going to stretch the speed now.
Well, Nick Cassidy is now back in front. Da Costa in 2nd. So Nick Cassidy has found that opportunity to get in front of Felix da Costa, but I don't think that this is over by any stretch. Sam Bird down the inside of Max Günther, both of them right behind Jake Dennis.
Yeah, now we've now got 5 laps to go, 5.5 laps to go. I think this race is getting to the point where it's going to be flat out. It's about track position, it's about holding your position, and so that's why Jake Dennis has pushed himself to the front. Cassidy's quite happy to be there ahead of Da Costa, and the way that Bird was attacking Günther, he knows that it's going to be absolute max attack very soon.
So again, you can look at the power telemetry here when they're off the throttle, absorbing energy, but then back on the throttle, using that energy, and heading down the back straight, obviously you're using a lot. See where they lift off. They'll be lifting off later now that we are late in the race than they were earlier on. They were lifting off way before this final chicane.
Bit of defending there by Antonio Felix da Costa from Jake Dennis. Jake Dennis had a bit of a run in him, but Da Costa just made his car a little bit wider. Here's Dennis's radio.
It is so dangerous. They're swerving all over the place.
Yeah, Jake complaining about the swerving that's going on. Oh, that was a big swerve from Nick Cassidy.
The problem he's got is that Cassidy's sort of not exactly attacking into the corner, and that's allowed the Da Costa and the Porsche to get back into it, because it was quite easy. The Avalanche Andretti car was overtaking there, Da Costa, but just wasn't able to get it done because it was blocked.
Jake
Dennis
Dennis
the outside.
Yeah.
Nice work. Very, very nice there by Jake Dennis.
And he's trying to go for the lead. He's trying to go for the lead by the outside. He's got into 2nd place, but Jake Dennis, the man who was on pole position, who led those early laps, is really going for it now. He's got it past Antonio Felix da Costa in 3rd place. Max Günther in 4th, but da Costa's not given up yet. Still side by side as they come through, and Nick Cassidy in front, running wide onto the grass.
Günther got sliced wide onto the grass.
Yeah, so Günther just losing out a bit as a result of that. This is getting into a really tough part of Da Costa back down the inside of Jake Dennis. Nick Cassidy leads. Da Costa now, just having been passed by Jake Dennis, has got back into that 2nd place. Listen in.
Elbows out, elbows out.
Elbows out. Yeah, you've got to fight now for every moment. And you can see how Nick Cassidy's just moving around, trying to break the slipstream.
Yeah, he is, but I think he's going to struggle to actually do that. It's about trying to get it, and you can see how aggressive Da Costa was coming back at Jake Dennis. He didn't want to lose that. And so Dennis, if he's going to get past Da Costa, has got to get past Cassidy to make sure there's one car in between them.
Both Jaguars are just a little behind, not by far. You can see the black and white Jaguars. It's Mitch Evans ahead of his teammate Sam Bird. Don't hit each other, guys. We have seen them hit each other on a couple of occasions this year. Sam Bird tucked in behind his teammate, and they've got Ed Mutara behind them in the Maserati. Listen in.
Tell him to go, man, because either I'm going or he's going. Come on.
So Sam Bird behind Mitch Evans. And, well, let's see. Let's hope that there is no contact between them. Meanwhile, oh, look at the battle for the lead. Nick Cassidy, Antonio Felix Da Costa. Da Costa goes through. Da Costa retakes the lead. And the Porsche's looking in good form here.
Yeah, go forward with Mitch. Look after him.
Go forward to Mitch, look after him, but at the end of the day, that's a message to Bird. I think other people around about him's got a different idea. Buemi tries down the inside, but also Cassidy then takes the lead back off Da Costa. Da Costa's now fighting for his own. I think they've realised that Verline down in 8th isn't going to be in this particular game, so Da Costa's going all out for the win, but so is Cassidy, so is Dennis.
Yeah, and Buemi in the other Envision, the other green Envision, he's now in between the other two Jaguars. Now, they're all Jaguar powered, remember, the two green cars, the Envision cars, and the two white and black Jaguars. Whether they're actually all going to work together, I don't know.
Yeah, but Da Costa and Dennis are the two Porsche powered cars as well, and so therefore, here's Bird's radio.
Great, because I was defending from Mitch, I get done by Seb. Thanks, guys.
So, yeah, well, you know, are these teams working together or not? That's a big question, but at the moment it's Nick Cassidy. Looking at the energy, it's still Jake Dennis who has the slight advantage in terms of the power.
Yeah, he's pulled it back actually, because Dennis was 1% behind Da Costa earlier on at the last time we saw the energy, and now he's pulled it back and he's got 1%. The problem is that he needs track position, and so he's got to get it done. There's 2 laps to go at the end of this lap.
Yeah, they're about to complete lap 30, and 2 laps to go, as you say, with Nick Cassidy just in front of Antonio Felix Da Costa. Now we're getting into the final stages. 2 laps of this Portland International Raceway to determine who is going to win here for the first time. This 4th venue in the United States that has seen Formula E, and what an intriguing final battle we've got. The likes of Nick Cassidy fighting for the championship. Da Costa's a bit further down in the points, but another victory would help him. He's had 1 win already this year.
And Buemi's just coming out of his attack mode. He's run his last few seconds, 6 seconds to go, and that's what he's used very well to propel him back up into 4th place and really in with a chance of a podium. But for me, now it's between Cassidy, Da Costa and Dennis. Those are the 3 that have the real speed. And right now, it's Dennis that's got the work to do.
More than all cars around you, 1% more.
He got 1% more. It's good for him to hear that. He's got the more energy. Can he now make it work? Because we're now beginning to run out of time. Remember, as they come around this final corner and down the start-finish straight, we're going on to the final lap.
This is going to be into the last lap. He's got to do Da Costa at the end of the straight, or he doesn't have a chance, because there's just not enough corners to do it. He has to get one of the cars done now.
Coming down, you can see that Jake Dennis having a little look around the outside of Da Costa. Oh, no, he can't quite make that work. Da Costa holds on to 2nd place. Nick Cassidy is still in front of both of them. He'll be looking in his mirrors thinking, oh, that's good that they're battling. I've got a bit more space there.
Yeah, but that's actually used up that extra 1% energy, because he also had to defend from Buemi coming out. He had to square off the corner, and that means that he'll have sapped away some of the advantage that he had. But that was important for Da Costa to block it. It was important for Dennis to try to make it happen.
Buemi is still in 4th place, chased by Mitch Evans. Evans really needs the extra points at this stage. It's worth a risk for Evans to try and get past Buemi. Sam Bird just a couple of places further back with some damage on the front end of his car. But we are now coming into the closing stages of this race, and Nick Cassidy is looking for victory, but Jake Dennis goes into 2nd place. Jake Dennis, Da Costa must be weak on power or something, because he had to lift off so early, and Jake Dennis has still got a chance, hasn't he? Out of the last corner, no, I don't think he has. Nick Cassidy has judged it perfectly again, I think, as he comes over the line. Yes, Nick Cassidy takes his 3rd win of the season on 0% energy as he crosses the line. A brilliant performance by the New Zealander to take another victory, and that'll put him right up there in the championship. But with Dennis close behind, we shall see. Brilliant, brilliant stuff. A real wonderful drive by Nick Cassidy, judging it to perfection. So Cassidy from Dennis from Da Costa. Alan, let's try and have a word.
Nick, it's Alan here in the comms box. Fantastic race. What another one. Just like you were able to do in Berlin. Lead it from the front. How was that feeling? It definitely was fun to watch, but I think the podium's going to be fun for you. Congratulations, Portland winner.
Well, it doesn't seem to be quite coming through, but, well, Nick Cassidy has just done a fantastic job. He really judged that so well. Jake Dennis, another second place, like he was getting used to in Jakarta as well. A series of podiums. He's had more podiums than anybody else this year, Jake Dennis, and it's been working well for him in consistency. He's still right up there in that fight for the championship. I want to see what the points are like, actually, because it's going to be pretty close between these two after that finish. Cassidy scoring just that little bit more on this occasion, getting the 25 points, 18 points for Jake Dennis. And so this will put them virtually together, I have to say. Da Costa in third place, Mitch Evans in fourth place. But the loser on the championship battle is definitely Pascal Wehrlein, only scoring 2 points down in ninth position. So that will hurt him a little bit, dropping down from the order. And Jean-Eric Verne as well, the one who was very much a part of that mix early on, losing power. And that meant that Verne did miss out towards the end of the race and didn't score quite as much as he would have liked. Well, he didn't score anything. He finished down in 12th position in the end. But what delight there was for the Envision team. They've been here before, but not at Portland. First time here, of course, their victory. And there we are. There's the second-placed man of Jake Dennis, who did another fantastic job once again. And Antonio Felix da Costa, we thought he might be winning this race, but just on that last lap, it looked like he didn't have quite the energy he thought he had.
Yeah, he just clicked down to less than 1% as he was halfway round the lap, and that allowed Jake Dennis to get past him. I think Jake will be thinking, well, what could have happened if I'd been able to get past da Costa at the beginning of the lap, not at the end of the lap. But this man, Nick Cassidy, I think, did a sterling job. He's got a real skill for getting to the front in one of these peloton-style races and just controlling the gaps, controlling the position, and knowing when to go, knowing when to release it and go flat out towards the end. And he's won a couple of races this year and put himself into a real strong title challenge with that style of driving.
Well done to Nick Cassidy. He is now 1 point behind Jake Dennis in the championship. So Jake has held on by 1 point with that second place, and the two of them are virtually together going into the last 4 races of Formula E in this season. Pascal Wehrlein, who was leading the championship coming into this event, he's dropped back down to third. Mitch Evans is still in the fight. You can see there, 4th place for Mitch Evans on 122 points. Jean-Eric Verne is down in 5th place. He's missed out, and that, I think, could be a painful one for Jean-Eric Verne, no doubt about it, because he was still in the championship fight coming into this event, but that's a tough one now. He's a bit too far back. A lot of chat going on between these guys. These two had a wonderful battle.
Yeah, it was a very, very good battle there, and as you say, I think for Jeff it's going to be difficult, and also for Mitch Evans, to be honest with you, because you could be quite sure that these pair and also Jake Dennis are going to score strongly at the following races in Rome and then the finales in London in just a few weeks' time.
Yeah, so much to play for, but well done. And I have to say, Nick Cassidy did seem to judge it all just about to perfection. This is a fascinating chat that they're having about who had what power, how did they get it right, get it wrong, but that did work well. And he's now won races this year from 8th on the grid, 9th on the grid, and this time from 10th on the grid. Fabulous stuff from him. So Nick Cassidy, he's going to be catching up in just a moment with Radzi, so we can find out the full story of this race. And it'll be fascinating to hear from all three from our podium finishers here. Mitch Evans, who just missed out on the podium, but did set the fastest lap. So the extra point for fastest lap has gone to Mitch Evans in 4th position. But it's Nick Cassidy who can celebrate racing here in Portland.
Nick Cassidy, from pointless in Jakarta to being on top of the podium here in Portland in the inaugural E-Prix. How are you feeling?
What's up, Portland? Man, this is, it's cool. It's cool. I've had a good run in America the last couple of years, and man, I love racing here. And that race was fun. That was fun.
You got an amazing result in Brooklyn. The difference is this season could not be any closer. You're doing a lot to our blood pressure, by the way.
Yeah, look, it's close. I mean, the guys we're racing now, they're top. I mean, Jake was a reference today. He did an amazing job in quali. I think he was unlucky to be starting on pole, to be honest. Today wasn't the race to be doing that. And Antonio in these races, he's always fantastic as well. So, yeah, it's close, it's fun, it's Font Marie.
And finally, from P10 to 1st, that's an incredible climb.
Well, to be fair, I saw Mitch up with me at stages. I saw Sam, I saw Seb, and we all started far back. So I think credit to Jaguar, to Envision Racing. Yeah, what a car, what a powertrain.
What a performance. Portland, let's give it up for our winner, Nick Cassidy.
Well, that was really fantastic performance by Nick Cassidy, no doubt about it. He and Antonio Felix da Costa were fighting up front for many laps there. Jake Dennis almost got around the outside of him when he moved up into 2nd place, but Cassidy held him off, and he just judged it beautifully, didn't he, all the way through?
Yeah, he did. He was also really in nice areas where he was able to sort of control it. The others were squabbling for position behind him, for being the one to attack Cassidy in the last lap. Ultimately, it was left to Jake Dennis after da Costa ran out of energy just before he got to the final corner. But Cassidy deserves this victory, in my opinion. Really strong ride.
He certainly does, having had a lot of success in the Brooklyn race in the past. But Jake Dennis can still celebrate. He leads the championship.
Jake Dennis, every racing driver obviously wants to win, but 5 podiums in 5 races and pole as well, you've got to be happy.
Yeah, we had a good day. I think after the flag, I was a little bit disappointed just because just the way the race planned out. It was really, really difficult, but nevertheless, we got P2. There was some really difficult overtakes to be had. You know, you got some guys obviously fighting for the championship, and then other guys which obviously have nothing to lose. And a race like today, it's all about risk. So yeah, I just had to keep my powder dry, come home with an undamaged car, and I knew I could get a good result. And to come home 2nd, I mean, I think that's 3 seconds in a row now. So yeah, I want to taste the win again in Rome, but yeah, we can be happy after a race like that. 400 overtakes to come home with yeah, 18 points is good.
You mentioned risk. You took risk right the way up to the end. You were challenging Cass.
Yeah, we were. You know, me and Nick are obviously really fighting for the championship, and it's just who takes the most risk. And some of those moves on Antonio were brave, and he did a really good job there. Obviously, I did Antonio right on the last lap, which was just about got through. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to having that race behind me now, and we can get back to Rome where it'll be a little bit more normal, and pole will actually be a benefit.
The Rome is ahead of us. As for the present, massive congratulations. The championship couldn't be any more exciting.
Thank you very much.
No, a truly fine effort by Jake Dennis to take that 2nd place and to have a point lead in the championship as a result of that. And a very sensible assessment from him of how the race went, and you can see right from the early stages, he started from that pole position. Then that last lap, that has made all the difference. Getting past Da Costa has basically what has allowed him to be the leader of the championship, because he's only leading by 1 point. If he hadn't made that move on the last lap, he wouldn't be leading it.
Or if he hadn't have actually had pole position earlier on in the day. He came out with 21 points out of this particular one, and as you say, 4 times in the last 5 races been in second place.
Great stuff from him, and also good from Antonio Felix da Costa. Let's hear from him.
What speaks volumes, Antonio Felix da Costa, is you've ended on the podium, but you look a little bit frustrated.
Yeah, I gotta say, when I came into the track this morning, I was not expecting the turnout from all these guys. I know this is big. You guys are like, you like IndyCar, you like NASCAR, and to see the support for Formula E, it's insane. So thank you for coming out. It's really, really cool. I thought that was a great show, to be honest. There was a lot going on. The thing is, as a team, and myself in the car, I thought that was the right moment to go to the front, and it turns out that Nick was just, you know, a tiny bit more clever than us today, and Jake got us there at the end as well. So, you know, I'm happy. A podium is always awesome, and yeah, solid day for me and the team today.
A solid day, but when you arrived, you spoke about the fact that you're a team player. It's all about supporting the team. But here you are on the podium, so you've obviously got ambitions of performing extremely well.
Yeah, look, Pascal's is, I'm not sure what's going on now, but he was leading the championship going into that race, and the goal was always to help him. I was waiting for him to come, and if he did come, I was going to be there to try and help him win this race. But I knew that if he wasn't there, then it's my turn to try and have a go at it, and that's what we did. Unfortunately, we came out short, just short a little bit, but it's okay. Podium is always cool, and it's going to be awesome doing it here with these guys.
Well, you'll be doing that in just a second, so without further ado, give it up for Antonio Felix da Costa!
What a result for Antonio Felix da Costa, the Season 6 Formula E champion, of course. That puts him now 6th in the Drivers' Championship title. Nelson, let's try and unpick some of that race. It really was a race of 2 halves. We had 2 safety cars. It was a real slow start, 2 retirements from the race. But the second half, it was flat out and furious.
It was. I mean, I must say, my pick, Jake Dennis nearly got it. He was a little bit short. Nick Cassidy was really smart. I mean, he positioned himself at the right time in the front. He used up a little bit more energy, even in the beginning of the race, to be in the front, to stay away from all that mess that was happening in the midfield. And it actually paid off. You know, he stayed up front, he stayed away from the mess, because the issue was not only staying in the middle and staying using a lot of toes. The problem was that you had so many people dive bombing and moving you around that you even getting the toe, that wasn't efficient enough. So being close to the front, sometimes, I mean, in this race, for example, I think it was a better choice to spend more energy, but be in the front, away from all the chaos that was happening back in the middle, as we saw the first half of the race.
Yeah, absolutely. Although easier said than done. I mean, you know, he's got the skill as a driver, but also has a brilliant powertrain with Envision Racing. You know, to work up the grid from P10 to take the win is a phenomenal achievement. But it was brilliant to see how Jake Dennis and Antonio Felix da Costa really had a good fight between them. Obviously, at one point, it was Antonio Felix da Costa defending really hard. Jake managed to pass him, and then vice versa. They swapped round, but ultimately, it was Jake Dennis who managed to secure P2, and that, you know, this valuable 18 points has put him in the lead of the championship. Only by 1 point, but still, to carry that title at the moment is just a massive confidence boost.
When you're coming towards the end of the season, you need to be playing careful. You know, he didn't want to risk anything, and he needed to score all those points that just to stay up there, you know. And I think that Costa would be the only one that maybe could have risked a little bit more, because he's not really contending. But he played very safe. He knows these other guys are fighting for the championship. He wouldn't do anything really silly to try to take them off or anything like that. So congratulations, amazing race. They all respected each other a lot in the front, so it was great to see them.
How do you think Pascal Wehrlein's feeling right now? Obviously, he started off the day as championship leader. He's now dropped down to 3rd on 136 points. Very much still in the hunt, but it's not necessarily where you want to be. We've only got 4 races to go. Still plenty of points up for grabs, but he will be disappointed with that.
Yeah, definitely frustrated. I mean, he knows that it was a race that you could have moved forward a bit easier than other kind of races, than other street tracks. He got caught in that middle pack, which was very difficult to get a rid. You know, you would pass one car, somebody else would come and pass you, and it's like, you know, you don't get a break. You know, every time you think you're going to get ahead, somebody else is going to come and dive bomb you. So he couldn't get a clear air and come to the front. So he's definitely frustrated. So, but they still have 2 races in Rome, London, so there's still a bit of a way for it to recover these points.
Well, we can hear the crowds going wild behind us for the podium ceremony. Let's take a look.
We're getting ready to celebrate after a fantastic race up there, but especially between these top 3 who have made the podium, and Antonio Felix da Costa having his run across, taking his first podium in 7 races, in fact, because his last podium this year in Formula E was when he won in Cape Town. He did that from 11th on the grid, and today Nick Cassidy almost matched that by winning from 10. Jake Dennis, though, they're keeping this remarkable run of podium finishes going on. His 5th consecutive podium, and through pole position earlier today and 2nd place in the race. That's got him the championship lead by 1 point. Yeah, but we've still got plenty of points to come with 4 more races to go, and that's around 116 points still available. But it does mean that he is very much fighting for the title, and he's had that focus all year long. There were a few races where things didn't work out for him, but it worked well today. But Nick Cassidy taking the victory, and like Pascal Wehrlein, he now becomes a 3 times winner this year. Pascal did not have such a good time, finished down in 9th today, so scored just 2 points. But 2 drivers this year have now taken 3 victories each, and it's Nick Cassidy on this occasion with Jaguar Powertrain, with the Envision team, who has taken victory. And the USA, as we heard from him, he loves racing in the USA. He took the victory at the Brooklyn race last year, in the first race of the weekend. And funnily enough, Antonio Felix da Costa won the 2nd one. He didn't quite win today, just the 1 race in Portland this weekend, but a lot of celebrations to enjoy, and the smile on Nick Cassidy's face. Lovely to hear.
The national anthem of the winning team from the United Kingdom.
That was for New Zealand, and now for the United Kingdom, for the Envision team. Yeah, well, it's been a good year all round for New Zealand drivers, of course. Mitch Evans has taken 2 wins. Nick Cassidy has now taken 3 victories in Formula E. So we've never had a New Zealander win Formula E, but then we've never had a British driver either, and Jake Dennis is leading. Meanwhile, celebrations for Franz Jung, the chairman of the board at Envision Racing, as they are top team here today, taking the victory with Nick Cassidy.
To present the trophy to 3rd place.
Jess Hansen handing out the trophy to 3rd placed finisher, Antonio Felix da Costa. And he's got a big smile on his face. He's had a bit of an up and down season. That win in Cape Town was remarkable. Hasn't always worked out that well for him, but certainly scoring a lot more points than teammate Pascal Wehrlein on this occasion. And Wehrlein, one of the ones who has missed out on this occasion. Jim Etzel handing out the award for second place to Jake Dennis, keeping up this remarkably consistent run of podium finishes, and great for the Avalanche Andretti team. Andretti on home turf in Portland. But Rich Stinson hands out the trophy to the race winner. It is Nick Cassidy who's done it again. Win number 3, and the championship chase is still on for him as well. Wonderful time for Cassidy, for the Envision team, and time for them to really start celebrating. Yes, indeed. Look at that, the spray time for Nick Cassidy. It has been a brilliant weekend for all 3 drivers here, having to play cautiously to save energy for so much of the race, but to come from 10th place on the grid, Nick Cassidy has once again come to the front to take victory and to be very much a part of this championship battle. But Jake Dennis has that 1-point lead as we are looking forward to 4 more races coming up on the calendar. It'll all finish in London, but in a few weeks, it's going to go to the next one. 2 races in Rome. So that's the next race to look forward to. 2 key races leading then into just the last 2 in London, and looking at how close the championship battle is, very likely it will go down to those last 2 races in London, of course. Just having a little look back over some of the highlights here, Alan, and well, a lot of that race was about easing off, trying not to make too much movement, but I have to say, Antonio Felix da Costa, he pushed on early, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He needed to get to the front very early, which he did it very, very well, and managed to be in a position where he was always leading second, third, fourth, never really outside of that top 4, and that's what helped him through there. Sasha Fenestraz, this is what cost his race. Bumped into the back of his teammate coming down into the concertina effect, damaged the wing. He had to come in for that, and ultimately put him to the back, and then he had another incident from there.
I was surprised though. I mean, we saw a lot of action. We saw some cars running wide, and we did see 1 or 2 incidents, but I really thought with such a bunch of cars that we would see a bigger incident, and in fact it was pretty clean most of the time.
Yes, it was pretty clean. It was a wide circuit, so allowed it a little bit of flexibility there. However, at certain times, and for Nico Muller, this was a huge shunt. Something happened there. He exited off on the left-hand side, had no brakes, then came across the circuit, caused a safety car, which then bunched everybody up, even though they were already bunched up. And there you see Dan Ticktum losing his front wing as well in that concertina at the first corner.
Yeah, John-Eric Verne ended up on the grass, but he used a lot more energy than I think he was expecting to do. At one point, he was right up in that lead group. But suddenly we saw he only had 25% energy left, when those around him had 30%. That had not worked out for the DS Penske team. And unfortunately, both drivers, John-Eric Verne and Stoffel van Dorn, ended up finishing outside of the points. And then that battle up front, Nick Cassidy versus da Costa, with Jake Dennis joining in. This was, as you mentioned, you thought this was going to be the top 3 fight, and it turned out like that for several laps.
Yes, it did, and right towards the end, I think this was at the point where Jake Dennis, if he had got past and was able to keep his position ahead of da Costa, then he had a real chance of winning the race. Ultimately, da Costa was able to keep him behind until the final lap, in fact the last couple of corners, and that was a deciding factor. Cassidy up ahead, just able to look in his mirrors and see them squabbling behind, saying thank you very much.
Yeah, a good point. That was some good late braking. This was a good move by Jake Dennis to take second at one point. Nearly, we wondered if he was going to take the lead. It didn't quite happen. But then da Costa was able to come back at him. But then on that, you can see there, da Costa getting back ahead. Funnily enough, in the same place that Jake Dennis would get back past him on the final lap.
Absolutely. Very aggressive there by da Costa, as he also tried to push it through and made it into the lead of the race as well. However, straight back at him here down into the first corner, using a little bit of the pit lane exit, as well as Cassidy then took the lead back.
Yeah, it's so easy to make mistakes, but none done. Jake Dennis then taking that second place on the final lap from Antonio Felix da Costa. But Nick Cassidy had, as you say, enough of a gap to hold on right across the line and to take his third victory of the year, and a big boost after what had been a tough time for him in Jakarta. He's right back up at the top level. So it has been an absolutely superb day here in Portland, this beautiful part of the United States, the Northwest, the Pacific Northwest, on a track, a full track, which has seen fights all the way through, but a victory for Nick Cassidy from Jake Dennis by just 0.294 of a second, with Felix da Costa coming in third place. Mitch Evans in fourth, Sebastian Buemi in fifth place, still hasn't had a podium this year. Max Günther in sixth, the winner in Jakarta last time out, and a better result for Lucas de Grassi than we've seen for a while in seventh. But Pascal Wehrlein dropping down into eighth, Nato and Freins getting into the points in 10th place. Outside the points though, the likes of Vernon van Dorn, Dan Ticktum, but also Sam Bird, sadly, who had been in that lead group. He got a 5-second penalty for forcing a driver off track, so that's why Sam Bird ended up that far down. In the points, look, we just have a 1-point advantage for Jake Dennis over Nick Cassidy. Pascal Wehrlein is still very much in the mix. He might not have scored well today, but he is in that mix very much. And Mitch Evans, top 4, they're all close. Then it gets a bit harder for the likes of Jean-Eric Vergne, Antonio Felix da Costa. Max Günther didn't quite get the additional points that he wanted. And then further down that list, Lucas de Grassi, who did score today, really not in with a shout at all, even though we've got 114 points on offer, 116 points on offer coming up over the next 4 races. In the Teams Championship, it's still Tag Heuer Porsche ahead of Envision, but that gap has closed. Jaguar ahead of Avalanche Andretti, but again, that's got closer too. There's only 7 points between Jaguar and Avalanche Andretti. DS Penske in 5th place, and then all the way down to Abt Cupra team, which is down at the bottom end of the list. A remarkable day, fantastic race for Nick Cassidy in particular. Let's go and join Nicky.
Second. Which round you thought we can...
Well, I can smell champagne in the air, and I know exactly where it's coming from. You're covered in this stuff. Congratulations, Jake Dennis.
Yeah, another good day. You know, ultimately we've had a win. Sorry, not a win. We've had a pole position and a P2. So
you wanted a win.
I wanted to win very badly, but yeah, Nick got the better of us today. Ultimately, yeah, I'm happy that I just brought the car back with no damage. It was such a difficult race in those first sort of 15 laps. A lot of different strategies going on between cars, and yeah, ultimately came home P2, yeah, 18 points, and yeah, still leading the championship, so very happy.
Huge one for you and the team. And, you know, if we look at the consistency that we've seen from you this season, I think you've been on a podium 5 times, you know, 4 second-place finishes. It really has been phenomenal. Where's this all coming from, Jake?
I just got a really good race car, you know. Ultimately, we've improved our qualifying car over the past sort of 2 rounds, and that's really helped us achieve these results. But yeah, you know, the Porsche powertrain is so efficient, along with the Jaguars as well. But yeah, I just want to win again. It's been a long time since Mexico. We've had all these podiums. We've just equaled the record of the amount of podiums now, and we've had 3 seconds in a row. So I really want to get the win in Rome. But yeah, we just need that consistency to keep traveling all the way to London, which is a big race for me.
Absolutely.
What was the hardest part of the race, in your opinion?
Just the first sort of, yeah, 15 laps. Like I was saying at the start, like I don't think I even went full throttle in the first sort of quarter of the race. You know, everyone's trying to not toe. Ultimately, getting the pole was great, but it was actually a hindrance for us. You know, we led the first 3 or 4 laps, and we were down on energy, so I had to do a lot of risky saving in the middle part, which put me under some pressure. And then we just left ourselves too vulnerable at the end to, you know, drop back to P7.
And looking at how the race turned up, if you would have raced again, coming here next year, what kind of different strategy, what would you have done differently?
I think the attack modes we would have taken a bit more earlier. You know, we took our final attack when we were running like P3, but we dropped back to P7 or something like that, and it just left too much work for me to do. And by this point, the targets were that high, it was really difficult to overtake Antonio and Nick. So lessons learned for sure, but ultimately, I'm honestly just glad that race is done and we can get back to Rome and London, tight street circuits where these cars really excel.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. Are you looking forward to the tight street tracks, or did you like this kind of racing?
I really enjoyed the qualifying lap here. Obviously, it helps when you make the pole, but ultimately, just the high-speed corners, the Sector 3 is awesome in this car, and so I really enjoyed the qualifying, but the street circuit racing is a bit more suited to these cars.
That's what home is for you as well. Well, Jake, it's been an absolute pleasure. Huge congratulations, and we hope that win comes for you in Rome.
Appreciate it.
We know you've got it in your pocket. But speaking of championship title contenders, one driver, Pascal Wehrlein, who is probably going to be a bit disappointed with how today plays out. He's with Saunders.
Okay. So Pascal Wehrlein, that looked like a very difficult race, kind of from all angles. How was it for you?
Yeah. I'm not sure yet if I really like that kind of races or not, but yeah, obviously it's very different, like so many cars side by side, and a lot of near big misses and so on, like turn 10 for example. I mean, we're approaching quite high speed and all of a sudden there are 4 cars wide ahead of you and yeah, almost stopped in the corner. So yeah, but the track is really energy sensitive, and I expect that always to happen on those tracks. Yeah, nevertheless, I think we made good progress in the race from 18 to P9. Yeah, twice I had contacts where I lost again 3-4 positions. I think we were in front of the Jaguars, yeah, which finished obviously a bit further up. But yeah, I think today was not our day. Struggled already in qualifying, and yeah, need to turn it around in next race.
So do you think there was more out there in terms of where you could have finished, or do you think you extracted all the performance you could?
No, I think we did a good job. Also strategy-wise, it was a good job. Yeah, I just think that if I wouldn't have had 2 incidents, then could have finished in the top 5. But yeah, I guess it would always happen in those races.
Well, it certainly made the championship fight very interesting. Thank you, Pascal.
Thanks very much, Saunders. Yeah, well, hopefully he can go into Rome with a fresh start. Now, we did start off this race with 2 safety cars. Nico Müller, absolutely huge collision. I think the G monitor in his car reached sort of 25, 26. Let's take a quick look at what happened. I mean, you can see just how early on he starts coming across the track and then just slides into the grass, but at serious speed.
Yeah, I mean, these cars, they're getting so fast, and once you touch the grass and once you lose control of the car, which, you know, you must have hit a bump on the grass, something like that, there's nothing you can do, become a passenger, you know? And then obviously at that point of the truck, it starts turning a little bit. So, I mean, you lose control, the car you become a passenger in the car, and yeah, I mean, it just shows how safe these cars are, how good they are built, and you know, he walked out of the car, nothing, thank God, nothing happened to him. So, but yeah, shame for him because he was doing well. But yeah, I mean, these kind of accidents, you know, when we're in a track that is this quick, when you go off, you know, Formula E are not what they were back in the beginning. I mean, these cars are reaching nearly 300 kilometers an hour. So, you know, the higher speed we go, these cars go, I mean, sometimes these kind of accidents happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we are glad to see he is okay, but probably a bit shaken up. And let's talk about Sasha Fenestras, because, well, it was looking like such a fantastic day for him. Again, on the front row of the grid, but wasn't quite meant to be.
Yeah, I mean, it was a chaotic race. Front wing damage, you know, I mean, it's something that everybody was worried about, especially because of the first chicane. You know, it's a shame. I mean, it's his first season, you know. Yeah. There's still, he's shown a lot of speed, qualifying front row, I think 2 times at least. But I think the race experience, you know, he still needs to grab a little bit of race experience and the craft that a lot of drivers have been here since season 1. So it's going to take him a little bit of time. But I think the most difficult part, which is the speed, he has it. I think the racecraft, he's going to get it. Next year is going to be much better. So I'm not worried about that. I think he's shown already all his pace. He just needs to grab a little bit more confidence and experience during the races.
Yeah, absolutely. No, he's put in some really good performances in qualifying. But what a day it has been here in Portland. We said if we couldn't predict it, and we really couldn't. But huge congratulations to home race for Andretti and their driver, Jake Dennis, at the top of the Drivers' Championship as we head to Rome for a double header on the 15th and 16th of July.
Formula E returns to the USA for round 12 of the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship. Formula E is go in Portland.
A huge crash there as one hit the wall.
Nick Cassidy takes his third win of the season. Yes!